Welcome to Positive Kids Podcast, dedicated to developing resilient minds, with your host, Chanel Arterbridge.
Hello, welcome to Positive Kids Podcast. This is Chanel, your host, and this week we are going to do a little story time. I have a couple of stories that actually impacted me and inspired me to the point where I wanted to create Positive Kids, and I thought that I would like to share it with you because they were very motivating and inspiring and really lit something in me to go ahead and do something about it. What can I do to help my two sons out? So I developed an urgency to protect my kids, which are Alex and Preston, after a shopping trip to Target. So I love Target. It's actually one of the places I go just to have some quiet time alone. I don't know if any other mothers can relate, but sometimes I can spend an hour in there. I'll go in there for deodorant and come out maybe an hour later or so with about $85 worth of stuff. So I don't know if anybody else can relate to that. But on this particular day, I wasn't alone. I was with my oldest son, but at the time I don't know specifically, but I know he couldn't talk. So he was maybe between the ages of 1 and 2 when I was there. And he was in the Target red shopping carts. And so I'm pushing him along. And this is not different than any other day except for a revelation I had personally. So everything else was normal. It's just my mind was transformed or enlightened that day. And that is that Alex is with me in the cart. Thankfully, the Lord has blessed me with some cute kids. And I am truly thankful for that. And I appreciate some of the commentary I was getting with my kids when I was out and about. And this was no different. So, of course, you know, when there's baby around, it brings out the best in people a lot of the time. So as a mother, a young mother, I am with my son, pushing the cart, going through the aisles, and getting comments and compliments, I should say, from other shoppers, other women mainly. Oh, how cute. He's so cute. You know, what's his name? How old is he? Adorable. Oh, wow. You're so lucky. And I'm just, thank you. And it started, I think, toward the end. I don't know what happened, but I was in an aisle after one of the ladies had passed and gone on shopping, and I just had an epiphany, and I was looking at my son, who is just a ham. I mean, I think he had 2 teeth. That's it. But he was just cheesing, drooling. Of course, I gave him something to play with in the shopping cart, you know, to keep him occupied. That's how old he was. He was pretty young. So he really didn't know what was going on, but he loved attention. He knew that he was getting attention. And it just hit me as I looked at my son, my baby, the innocence, the openness there to receive all loving things and to be loved and just very innocent, and realized that in about 10 years, maybe a little longer, the reception of him is going to change. And it kind of broke my heart. And even right now, it breaks my heart just thinking about that there's going to be a moment where my son is not going to be received the same way he is in that shopping cart. I'm not saying that we should go around pinching cheeks on 16-year-old boys or anything like that. But I know that my son, because of the social, political environment right now in our country, it's just, I know the reception is going to be different. And as a mother, it's heartbreaking to come to that realization. And so now there's the daunting task of how to prepare him for that. When do you prepare him for that? How? Oh my goodness. What do I do? This boy that will always be my baby boy, no matter how old he gets, you know, and that light behind his eyes that is just so, it's just inspiring, and it's a glow. There's so much life in those eyes that I even see to this day. And he's 9 years old. Well, will be 9 years old. And so that day in the Target, I had this epiphany that, oh my goodness, my son will not always be this age, will not always get the compliments. Exactly, will get the opposite. Will actually have the hostility replace the adoration in a way. For example, you know, I have brothers. I have a brother. I have my husband. I have, my dad. I know that being a Black man in this society right now, in this culture, can be frightening. It's alarming. And there is some subtleties that you have to be aware of. And we do notice them because we talk about them. We talk about them in our houses with our families. When the door is shut, we notice when the lady clutches her purse. We notice when, they try to walk fast or cross the street. We notice those subtleties. And so the way my son is being received in this Target store right now, and this is going to change. And that's the revelation that I had. And that is what is actually motivating me each day when I speak positively to my children, why I do it. Why do I do it? Because I want them to have this inherent belief system of self-worth, of high self-worth. I want them to know that they are truly deserving of great things, that they are blessed beings, that they are love. Because when they get older, there are going to be some perceptions that are going to oppose that. But if they have it inherently within their DNA that they are positive beings, that they are grateful, they are blessed, they are all of these positive affirmations that we talk about each day, then that is helping them with what they're going to face when they're older. So there is a reason why I created Positive Kids, and it all started in that Target store, and it all started with me trying to fight what my children are going to face when they become older. Okay. So there was another one as well. And these two stand out to me because my husband and I, we talk about these instances to this day. Now, the first one in the Target store, I was by myself. And of course I came home and told him about it. And he was like, yeah, Chanel, we are going to have that talk, but we're going to prepare him. We're going to, I'm his dad and I'm going to make sure he knows, and, you're his mother, and you're going to, do what you can to help him understand and give him that positive self-worth, but we're going to handle it. And it's always great that, we have that teamwork effect to save them from that negativity as much as we can. But the second incident that happened not too long after that, because I still remember Alex is in a shopping cart, but my husband was with me, and this time we're in a Home Depot. And I bought a house when I was in my mid-20s. I bought my first condo in my mid-20s. And so after college, I went out and sought to purchase a home, and I did. And then, I met my husband, and we got married, and we had our first son. And so we are in Home Depot doing a lot of things. It seemed like Home Depot at one point in our lives was maybe a weekly date because we were always there, rather be paint or something. Well, we were there this particular day, and we were stopped again by, passerby, other shoppers passing by, commenting on our child. Oh, he's adorable. What's his name? How old is he? Great. Thank you. That's, my husband and I are very humble. Thank you so much. Yes, we are blessed, and we appreciate your greeting. However, one lady decided to stay with us a little while longer and not just keep on going. And this lady, she had an accent, but I do not know her country of origin. I don't know. I didn't ask her, but she took this opportunity to kind of lecture, I would say is the word, my husband and I. And when it was happening, it happened so subtly. It went from complimenting our child to all of a sudden her attention was on my husband and I, and she was going to drop some nuggets. She was going to drop some knowledge on us that we didn't know. And, and for a minute there, it was all good. But then it turned awry. To this day, we can't believe, and we kind of wish we could go back and kind of change it. Well, let me just get to the part where what happened. What happened is she decided to comment on our attire, especially my son. So my son is about no more than 2. He had a pair of Air Jordans on. Okay. Now, my son is about to be 9 in a couple weeks. He has not owned a pair of Jordans since he grew out of the baby toddler size Jordans, because what happens is the price changes. But we did, during that time when our kid was young and was wearing, the baby, I think it was toddler sizes, whatever the $30, $29 price range was for shoes, that's when my son was wearing Air Jordans. But as his foot started to grow, and so did those price changes start to go up, he hasn't owned a pair of Jordans. But anyway, she commented on that. And because in her eyes, she looked at that as an expense, an unnecessary expense. And so we were frivolously throwing our money away on children's shoes instead of spending it on something, investing it in something of more importance. So that was the first thing. And how she was doing it was in conversation, but at the same time, she was attacking us. She was being very blatant. It happened so fast. Secondly, she then started to, in her conversation of schooling us on how to be parents, she also took notice to my husband and his jewelry. He had a gold necklace that he always wears. He never takes it off, so it has a cross on it. And she actually went up to him and kind of took her hand and was like, and you see this? I don't want to mock her, but she kind of like, and this too. And she kind of grazed her hand over my husband's necklace that is on him, that he's wearing, and kind of gesturing to his ears because he had earrings in his ears and he was wearing a jersey and he had a baseball cap on. And so I guess the way he looked in her mind equaled what she saw on the news or something. I'm not sure, but there was a prejudice there. She was prejudging us, and her conversation mimicked whatever she had, whatever prejudice she had in her mind. So here she is seeing a young Black couple with a child who are spending their money on frivolous things such as expensive baby shoes, jewelry, and not only was she talking about our attire, but she was comparing it to how she raised her children. So her children are much older. So during her conversation, she was saying how, what we were doing wrong and what she did better. Okay. And from that, I just gather that she was not natively born here, but her children were. And she just knew certain things I got from the conversation was, I put education first in my family. Now my children are doctors and, they didn't wear the best of the best. Sometimes I took them to the thrift store, hand-me-downs. I really just pushed for education and we saved our money and we bought a home. And it was just, this is how we did it. And I'm sharing this story with you so that you can understand how you're supposed to parent, how you're supposed to raise. So that is actually the vibe my husband and I are getting from her, because she's not coming right out and saying that, of course, but she might as well have. But she was telling us her story, and because of her parenting and because of how frugal she was in her parenting, that she winded up with successful children. And here we are with the Air Jordans and the gold chain and the baseball cap, and we're not doing it right, I suppose. Knowing she doesn't know anything about our education or if we own a home or not. She's just going off of a prejudice that she has formed or a stereotype that she believes in because of maybe what's on the news. I'm not sure where it comes from, but she definitely demonstrated it there loudly, not to herself. She was having a full-fledged conversation, speaking loud, commenting on our child and us, and then talking about, the successes of her. It was so surreal. And even now, my husband says right now he kind of wish he could go back and he would give her the business, as he puts it. He would have told her off. And, I really don't think that would have changed anything. In fact, and my husband realized this too, is it would probably reinforce what she thinks of Black people, I guess, because that's the only way we could put it, you know. And we do feel it was a racist event. It was a form of discrimination. And it happened in a way where she didn't want to leave. She was talking to us and she didn't want to leave because she didn't trust us to care for our child. I mean, it's funny now I think about it, because as she was walking away, she was looking back at our son as if she wanted to save him from us in a way. Like she kind of like, man, I feel bad for that kid, man. And it's just so surreal sometimes that people have a belief that is based on ignorance, but will loudly talk about it and even engage with someone else based on that ignorance. Unbelievable. But those two instances, so we have the Target store where I know that my child is going to have this revelation that my child, when he gets older, probably around 14, 15 years old, he's going to be looked at a little bit differently, in a negative light, more than likely. And then I have this lady in Home Depot that kind of reinforces that, because, she's looking at my husband, who is a Black man, and she's thinking that he's all into gold chains and, Jordans and who else. I don't know what she thought. Maybe didn't go finish school. Maybe, we're just out there just playing patty cake with her son instead of teaching him his ABCs. I don't know what she thought, but she was letting us know that we were not fit to parent in a way. It made me feel that way, and that we were going to mess him up. So from the two incidents, I knew that my role wasn't to just convince the world that my sons were, fun loving and all that. But I actually had to make sure that my kids understand who they are. So it's not my job. It's not my kids' job to make the other person feel comfortable in their prejudice, but it is for my child to feel comfortable in who they are and know who they are. That's exactly why I was able to motivate myself to create Positive Kids. And I just started from there with these two as my inspiration, Preston and Alex. When he started being able to talk, that's when we started the mantras of the positive affirmations. I also used my spirituality as well as a way to reinforce and help him understand who he is as well. So that was another part of this as well, was to just be dedicated to edifying him. And I'm speaking of Alex at the time because, he was my only child. But thankfully, because it became such a routine with him, that when Preston was born, it was a natural environment for him to grow into. And that's something that I really am proud of, that he was just able to come in to the swing of things in our household and just pick up on the positivity. So that's what happened from these two incidents. I just was like, okay, I'm going to be dedicated to edifying my children and developing their mindsets, and so that they're resilient and they can overcome adversity. Because one of the adversities that is not really in the Adverse Childhood Experiences original study, but is in the expanded survey, there is an expanded ACEs survey, is discrimination. So racism and discrimination, they are considered to be an adverse childhood experience, and it can cause toxic stress, especially according to Dr. Nadine Burke-Harris. So she has included that in an expanded version of the 10-question survey that I promote on my website and have spoke about in past episodes. And so that is something that also has kind of fortified that I'm on the right track, because I didn't know about the Adverse Childhood Experiences study prior. Like when Alex was 3 years old, I did not know. I learned about that about 4 or 5 years later. But now that I know they go hand in hand, I've been on the right track. And so the ACEs awareness complements what I've already been teaching my children. And so now I'm able to make sure that my children don't experience any other ACEs, okay, when it talks about the verbal abuses and the emotional abuses and any sexual abuses. My alert is up. It's a very empowering tool, the ACEs study, to keep, as a parent, to keep your radar open to noticing any other adversities your child may have. But it's all started for me with how to prepare my children for discrimination and racism as they become older. Okay? I do not want their self-belief to be minimized. I don't want their self-worth to be minimized. That's pretty much where the Positive Kids comes from. All right. So I hope those two stories were enlightening to you. They were two that still stick with me, as you can hear, throughout my journey with raising my kids. And I would love to share more with you. If you have a similar story, please let me know. Comment below. I know that there are other, probably more blatant examples many others can share. But if we can prepare our children to handle such adversities as they were older, then we are going to reduce any negative health outcomes that will happen. We were going to reduce the risk of any negative health outcomes for our children that may result from toxic stress. Okay, so thanks for coming by this week. Hope you enjoyed the story time. I will be back next week with some more information for you. In the meantime, have a good week. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Positive Kids Podcast. For more information, visit our website at www.positivekp.com.